This entire episode of My Hero Academia was just so good, man. It was so good. Like, this ending, like the last few minutes was just stellar. In terms of art, animation, like what you see on the screen with Mirko. Oh my goodness. Whoever worked on this sequence of events, like all the animators, the voice actor, just everything, the music designer, this entire sequence right here with Mirko when she starts going up against the Nomus and like she somersaults through the air and just smacking them all to the ground, it is just a great sequence. Easily one of the highlights of the episode, the best looking segments of the episode, and there's a lot of good segments that look really good throughout the episode. I want to make sure I say that. But holy crap, the Mirko stuff was such a delight to end the episode on, and I think that this is the first time that Mirko has actually done anything in the anime. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wait, no, I am a little bit wrong. She did drop in to protect Endeavor briefly when he was fighting the High End. That did happen at the end of that. But I guess this is the first time we've really gotten to see Mirko go in and really demonstrate her strength. And I think that what really conveys that is that she's able to take on multiple Nomus in this hallway and just straight up devastate them. Like, she is strong. Like, you cannot tell me that Mirko here is not a strong woman to be able to just wipe out Nomus left and right. They may not be high-end level or near high-end level or whatever, but you're not going to tell me she is weak. She straight up decimated Nomus left and right, showing that she is a very skilled hero, very strong, and you should not underestimate her. And just the very style of it, it shows that the people that were working on this sequence really loves Mirko as a character. They really love her design. They love just how she steals the spotlight. She steals the show, honestly. Every time Mirko is on screen and she is animated or in a manga panel or whatever, she steals the spotlight. She is absolutely a great character, and it's good. It's going to be good. I feel like everybody is going to just fall in love with this episode. If you've watched it and you saw this sequence, you could be like, yo, this is just great. Because, man, it was good. But okay, enough with the fanboying on Mirko, because I'm a big sucker for her character. I love her character so much. Let's back up to the beginning of the episode. So, one thing that caught me by surprise is that this was not a recap episode. Now, there was a recap briefly at the beginning here, until we got to, like, the opening, which I'll talk about this opening in a second. This is a really good opening. But, it caught me by surprise. Apparently, it's been known for a while now that there would not be a recap for the start of My Hero Academia Season 6, but honestly, I had no idea. I didn't hear about it, so I kind of was surprised when I opened up the episode this morning and it wasn't a recap. Because, FYI, if you remember, every single season of My Hero Academia in the last few seasons, it always starts off with a recap episode, or a anime original episode. That's what always happens. And I guess it's a good thing in some cases, but it could obviously start off the My Hero Academia season very slow, and cause people to not even care about it, because a lot of the other shows come out for that season and people are already watching all of those shows. I think like it might have a general negative effect on My Hero Academia's attention span for people, because people are just skipping over the first episode already. So I'm happy to see that the first episode starts off straight into the content that the previous season left us on, and we're getting to see such a high action packed episode that is spectacular. It's good. Just overall, seeing that overall decision making for this episode, I think that was a great decision, and they did the best they could with it. Now, let's talk about this opening. This opening is so good. Like, can we say that this is, visually speaking, the best opening My Hero Academia has ever gotten? Now, I know that's my opinion. I know not everybody's going to agree with my feelings on this opening, because that's just how it is. Everybody has their different feeling and vibe of how they feel about openings or ending songs. But I will say, what makes me like this opening so much is the comic book style. It legitimately looks like a comic book. And FYI, Horikoshi-sensei, the author of My Hero Academia, he loves comics. He loves Spider-Man. I mean, Izuku in his own way is basically in the embodiment of Spider-Man. He has referenced Joker. He has referenced Batman. He's referenced countless heroes and villains in My Hero Academia up to this very point in the anime. And so seeing an opening dedicated to Western comics, I think is a perfect nod to what inspired My Hero Academia in the first place. I think that is a great way to do it. And I'm surprised it's taken this long to really have an opening kind of like this. It's actually shocking to me. But I guess it's the best way to really do an opening like this, because this is such a pinnacle arc for the story of My Hero Academia, and I'm glad that whoever worked on this, everyone that worked, let's say, on this opening, they went in and they did a really good style for the My Hero Academia Season 6 opening. Now, one thing I do want to say is that they didn't really try to, like, make this a bad opening. Like, they really went in on this opening, like, the style-wise, and they could have cheaped out. They could have shown scenes, maybe, from this season of My Hero Academia in its normal anime form. They could have cheaped out. And I feel like when you see animators go all in, and they actually add, like, extra segments like this, like they make its own style to really stick out, it adds more life to it. It shows the care and attention to detail that they're putting into the show when you see the opening look really good. And I especially like this scene, like the Mirko. You can see just the stylization on Mirko here. They absolutely love her character. Like, just, you can see the muscle tones, the way her eyes are drawn. She looks scary looking, legitimately. Like, she looks actually scary looking. But I think that when you see an opening look really good and it doesn't feel like a copy and paste opening, you can kind of get a good impression of maybe the production of the show. I'm not saying this is always the case, because I'm not the one behind the scenes working on the show, but I feel like you can get a good understanding of maybe the health of the show when you see an opening. So, yeah, good opening song. This is just a great opening. Not everybody's probably going to care about it, and the one thing I could see reason why maybe people won't like this opening is that it doesn't encompass maybe that war arc feel, since that's technically what we're getting into with villains versus heroes. So people might think that the overall tone of the opening doesn't fit, but to each your own. You know, everybody has their different opinions on that. Makes sense. Not everybody's going to enjoy the opening. I personally like it, though. Gonna keep it real. Now, in terms of spoilers, I guess that's something I do want to talk about. Spoiler-wise for this opening, there is spoilers, yes, if you're looking for them, but if you don't know what to expect, and you're anime or, like, anime only, you don't know what's gonna happen, you're not gonna really notice the spoilers. So you're free to kind of watch the opening. You'll be completely fine. Normally openings really spoil, but I don't think there's really much spoilers in the opening. Now, let's fast forward a bit. So now we move over into kind of a little bit of a slow-paced burn at the beginning of the episode, getting to see what the Paranormal Liberation Front is doing, like with their different lieutenants, getting to see what Twice is doing, getting to see kind of what Hawks is doing. And I just want to take a few moments to talk about this character interaction with Twice and Hawks. I think that Twice and Hawks, every time they're on the scene, I love their chemistry. I've always loved their chemistry when I first read it in the manga, and seeing it animated and seeing their voice actors being able to bounce off each other, getting to see the movement and life of the characters, it's really elevated their very character dynamic, and I think that I know everybody's going to kind of gravitate towards the Mirko stuff at the end of the episode. They're going to love that, but I think one of the highlights of the episode for me, personally, as a fan of My Hero Academia, is definitely the Twice and Hawks stuff, and I think it's a perfect representation of these two characters, basically showing what type of person Twice is and what type of person Hawks is, because I think that for one thing you get to see here, and what Horikoshi's definitely done really well with his writing, he likes to put his villains in a hero spotlight, while he puts the heroes in more of a villainous role spotlight. I mean, Mirko's a good example of this, actually. If you look at Mirko's scenes in the episode, she looks terrifying. She does. And obviously people might not catch this because she just looks cool. But when you really, really take a step back and think about her design, she looks like a villain. Like, her design screams scary. Like, she's scary looking. Like, she is gonna kill you. That's how she looks. And I think Horikoshi's always done something like this, where he does, like the characters, he switches the roles up a little bit. And so when you see this entire dynamic of Twice and Hawks, it's a good presentation of that dynamic. Because Twice, he's a villain, yes, but it's obvious that he's just had one bad day, which is a reference to the Joker, obviously, and he's had one bad day that led him down a path that he can't really come back from, and he is, at the core of himself, a good person. It's clear. Even Hawks himself, he makes that fundamentally clear in the episode that Twice is naive, but a very good-natured, good person. While Hawks, when you look at everything that happened in this episode, the reason why there's a raid going on, why, everything's happening, is because Hawks is a spy. Hawks is the one that's giving information where Shigaraki is, where, Garaki is, and, the Doctor, to where the Paranormal Liberation Front is, like where Twice is currently located and all that. Hawks is the one feeding information to the heroes, and obviously he's doing the right thing, but when you think about it from Twice's perspective, it's a great betrayal, and I think that's something people won't realize, is that Twice is putting a lot of faith into Hawks. Twice believes in Hawks. And when you look at their character interaction, it's clear that they've had a lot of time they spent together. I mean, you have Hawks teaching Twice what to say, they're having their little moments together by themselves, and it shows that there is a lot of trust that Twice has in Hawks. And he even gives really good information to Hawks because that's how much he trusts him. And it's sad because he's someone that wants a family. He wants a place to belong. That is a part of Twice's character. If you remember what happened in the previous season, Twice is a guy that he wants to be a part of a group that accepts him, and he just wants a life, a good family, and not to really be hunted down. And so when you see how he's accepting Hawks, it's kind of like he's looking at him as a part of the League of Villains, as family. And we all know that eventually this is probably going to have a sad ending, because Hawks is betraying Twice. And when Twice finds out the information he's been feeding Hawks is the reason why maybe some bad things happen to the League of Villains and the Paranormal Liberation Front, he's going to be gutted. He's going to be devastated to know that he is the one that kind of did wrong to his family. He betrayed his family in his own way. He's going to feel upset about that. So very good dynamic for this episode, and I feel like it's going to be easily overshadowed thanks to the Mirko stuff, but this is such a good scene, a highlight for me personally while watching. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, we also need to talk about the sequence of events, basically showing the individual heroes and where they're stationed, like Team Endeavor to Team Edgeshot, and what Class A and Class B students are on the front line or in the back line. We get to see kind of a whole presentation of this, and how many heroes have kind of been rounded up to be able to take down the Paranormal Liberation Front. It's just nice to show where everybody's at, kind of strategically. That's pretty much what this middle section is about. Not really much to talk about, just where everybody is currently at. Now, when things really start to pick up, though, is when we get to see the scene with the hospital raid, and how the good Dr. Garaki is captured. Kind of find out he's a body double from Twice, and he kind of gets away, and his real self is underground, messing with some high-ends and all that, trying to, get Shigaraki out. And the episode is so good. Like, this entire sequence, as I talked about earlier, is just so good, because it gives us a lot of lore, actually, I think people are gonna miss, actually. I feel like a lot of people that are watching this episode will miss this particular lore of this episode. And what I mean is I think Mirko in the spotlight here overshadows this. And I noticed it did the exact same thing in the manga. When this came out in the manga, and we got this stuff, I remember people didn't talk about this much, because they were just so preoccupied with Mirko, for good reason. She's a great character. But people didn't realize what Garaki said, or just didn't care too much. But all these are quirks. All of this on the shelves are quirks. He has been stealing quirks for so long, and yes, we know he's doing that, yes, but to actually see it in the background, getting to see just the massive scale of it, of what he's done, adds so much more life to kind of set up for the future or different things in the past, showing just why All For One has so many quirks, why we see so many different, Nomu and all that. It just goes to show just how insane and a dark, maniacal scientist he really is to do what he has done to all these people, how many quirks he's actually stolen, to also the little scene with the orphanage and all that, showing that, he's been obviously taking a lot of quirks from the orphanage. There is a lot of good stuff with this scene that I think will be just completely overshadowed, but it adds so much more detail to the world of My Hero Academia, and I love the world building of this scene. So, besides that, though, I guess it's about it. It's a good episode. This is straight up a good episode of My Hero Academia. I'm pleased. I am very pleased with this episode. I have really no complaints at all. Really, I don't. So, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and I gave you any form of entertainment, do drop me a like. It does help me out a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it. But with that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.